The woman is 26-year-old Courtney Clenney, a popular Instagram model with 2 million followers.
We are charging 26-year-old Courtney Taylor Clenney with 1 count of second-degree murder in Christian's death.
Eric, you remember that story that we covered about the Lake Mead and the mob, potentially mob graveyard? Well, it seems like they found more bodies. Check this out.
I thought we were doing a stabber in Florida.
Oh, from Florida. This is another Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation. It's essentially where you have a couple who are in a domestic violence situation, but the guy has been killed and the woman is claiming self-defense. So let's look at, here's the original news report when the events first happened.
Tonight, there are many unanswered questions after a stabbing death in Miami.
A man allegedly killed by his own girlfriend. So why hasn't she been charged? Local 10's Nella Sabovic live with details on this. Nella.
The big question is here, was this done in self-defense? Miami police investigators say that this is an ongoing and very active investigation. Meantime, we spoke with a group of friends that knew this couple very well, and they detail a rocky relationship.
It's just heartbreaking. Everyone is just so devastated.
This trio was very close to 27-year-old Christian Obumseli and his girlfriend, who they've identified as 25-year-old Courtney Clenney, an OnlyFans model and Instagram influencer.
I think I've heard of this, like she's really, really attractive model or something.
Yeah, she's an OnlyFans model. She's gorgeous when you see the pictures. And I think she's got 2 million fans on Instagram or something, like followers on Instagram. So yeah, so this is one of those stories when you have, a beautiful young model, just like kind of like Amber Heard, a beautiful young woman who essentially
we know you love Amber. Nate loves his Amber, folks.
Look, listen,
it's
funny
for you, Amber. You need a lawyer, Amber. Amber, come to me. I can help you out.
She's such an ugly person, but just wrapped up in it's like a whole bunch of crap packaged up in like this beautiful box. And it's like, but I gotta open it up and still smell the crap. But anyway, so essentially that's what we got here. Seems to be another Amber, but where Johnny got out with just his finger getting cut off, this guy seemingly didn't make it. His life was snuffed out. So
I guess so.
So when police reported that Obumseli was fatally stabbed by Clenney on Sunday inside their Miami apartment, the friends were left speechless.
Did you see the Marilyn Manson t-shirt on the body?
Oh, no.
Look at that.
That is Marilyn Manson. Oh, my God.
We got all of them together. We brought in Amber Heard. We got
Marilyn Manson.
It's a sweep.
On Sunday inside their Miami apartment.
Right. You're playing it off screen. Sorry.
Oh, shit.
They portray a very violent relationship at the hands of only one person.
I've seen her hit him. I've never seen him hit her.
Officers say there was a struggle before Obumseli was stabbed in the shoulder. He died at the hospital. Investigators are still trying to figure out what happened and if Clenney acted in self-defense.
From what we've personally experienced between the both of them, we believe that Christian wouldn't put her in a position where she would need to stab him to protect herself.
One neighbor who tells me that he has a very clear view of the couple's apartment said a week before the stabbing, things were off and that Clenney was the one getting physically abused.
I could not tell if it was open-handed or closed-handed, but he was swinging at her.
Police say in the past 3 months, they've responded to multiple disturbance calls at the couple's apartment. Their mutual friends are still trying to process what went wrong.
Even though that we really lost Christian only, it feels like we also lost Courtney at the same time because we didn't think that this is as far as it would have gone.
So essentially, this seems pretty much like the same type of story, right? You have this beautiful, attractive woman. You got this pretty brawly guy. There's violence within the relationship, and essentially somebody now is killed. And when you see them, you have this woman who's very attractive, but she's very dainty, and you have this very big, sprawling man. And now it's presumptuously she's the abused and he's the abuser, because that's essentially the way.
That's the default position here in the country. That's but usually true, by the way. It's usually 90%. True.
No, what do you question for you, Eric? They say that men's domestic violence is underreported
Agree.
because of this way of thinking because of the what do they call it? What word am I looking for? The stigma behind
Agree.
men being abused by women. So I'll say like 90% of the time that I think are reported are women, but I think that it's not indicative of what the actual rates are in society, if that makes sense.
Here's the problem. And boy, okay, commenters, get ready. It's gonna be fun. Okay. There is a problem that men face in the sense that usually, so everything I'm saying, qualify it to usually or slightly more often. I'm not saying everything all the time. I'm just saying something happens. Usually the male partner is bigger and stronger and often faster than the female in a relationship. Again, all things being equal, blah, 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 if we go down the line. What happens in this scenario, and it makes it very difficult, is culturally, at least in the United States, depending on your generation and how you were raised, men are taught to not hit women. I was taught very explicitly, I'm a Gen Xer, do not hit women, period. Do not hit women, period. It was like, you are not a man if you hit women. And by the way, I agree with that. I do not want to hit women. The problem comes in that doesn't mean that the women are taught to never hit men. And men are taught even further to not only don't hit women, but you are so much stronger and you are so much tougher that you are not a man if you can't take a little bit of patty cake from a weaker woman.
Cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
It can be a giant problem when you have a one-way situation where you have a male trying to walk away, a female who does not want them to walk away and is enraged. And again, this is all about perceptions and things like this in the heat of the moment. Like, I'll say something crazy. I think that Amber Heard actually saw, with her conditions or implied conditions or alleged conditions or whatever, Dr. Curry said, I think she took responses as personal blows. So I think if she was insulted, I think that internally it was the same in her mind as if she was struck. So some of this was her projecting onto him and a violence. And Johnny, was trapped in a situation. I don't know if this is the same situation. These are two different people. This is two different things. But in terms of violence, this is what I think happens, is men get caught into a trap where they have to take it. They don't want to take it, but they don't know what to do. And then if they go to talk to their friends, they're called the P word, ending with an SSY, and they're mocked. So there we go. Do you report that? How do you report that? You feel like the cops who come to respond to you will probably be snickering on you. Yeah. Okay. So you're saying little Miss 5'1" is doing this to you, muscle bound dude? So how do you deal with that? And now somebody.
Well, it's interesting because they call it, what do they call it? It's there's a term for it. It's called microaggression. But it's really instead of being microaggression, it's actually like this unconscious bias. For instance, when I used to bodybuild, so like I remember there were times where something would happen, and if the cops would come, they see me, and then they even see another guy who's not fit, and something happened. They'll be more concerned with me, and it could be. And there was a couple of factors. It could be race is one of the factors. It could be size. It could be age. If you go to a situation where you have an old person and a younger person, and let's say if the older person is the aggressor, but you just don't know, and you'd assume it's the younger person. So I think ingrained in our society, we have these kind of inherent biases towards what we see, and it's natural because that's the way we survived for millions of years as animals, as human beings, right? You can't judge every situation objectively inherently, because if you do that, then you'll waste time and you could even be killed. So generally what you do is you try to predict what is happening in the future based on your past experiences. And most of the time, like you said, it's the person who looks the weakest and the person who looks the most vulnerable is generally the person who's going to be the victim. But we have to kind of overcome that and say that's not every situation. So you have to kind of judge each situation differently and try to overcome those inherent biases. Because even though, like I always say, 99% of the time you'll get it right. But when you get it, but like in the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case, 99% of the time it's going to be the male who's in that situation is the bad person. But the 1% of the times you get it wrong, it's really disastrously wrong, because these unconscious biases are the things that led you to ignoring the facts, because you already believe you know the conclusion.
By the way, I love that you brought up age, because that's a great one we can go to and get away from the male and female bit.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking recently how you have a race card?
Yes.
Well, I would argue that they have a victim card. That a quote weaker class has a permission slip that they're allowed to be more violent
and
in
aggressive
society's eyes and aggressive because the other person is so much stronger. So this is an equalization in society's eyes.
Oh, you just hit me?
Which is not fair. It's completely wrong. And that's where I said we have a cultural problem. So somebody who's older or aged, you just assume
Yo, this is racist.
that they are, being
vulnerable.
Why are you picking on that old man? Well, what? Maybe that old man was a Marine sniper in Vietnam and he could kick both of our butts sideways. I don't know that. It's very possible. And by the way, I've seen old men fight, and that don't get in the middle of it. And what was it? Adam Carolla. I sometimes call him, but he cracks me up because he talks about old man death grip. I don't know if you ever shaken hands with somebody older and they have just like a steel grip and you're like, shit, what the? It's like an electric shock going through you.
Oh yeah. You know what? It's interesting because what you just said made me think about it's even extends past gender and age. It actually extends to groups, right? The more powerful group, like you're as a white male, you're a white male, and it's assumed that you have this inherent social power, right? All white men have this social power; they can do whatever. They have the privilege, and then you have the weak, allegedly the weaker or the less privileged few or oppressed few. And the reason why I can say racial slurs against you is because it's like you're being, you can take it. Like you were saying before, I can take it. I'm the strong one. But then if you say a racial slur against me, then it's like, oh, you're the bad person. And I think it's just so fascinating that we do it on an individual basis, and then when it gets to the group level, we do it again on the group level, right? Because there's no way it's something funny happened. We went to Disney, right? So we were there, and I was saying to myself, I'm like, wow, it was fantastic. So one of the people there thought I was like one of the people working for Disney.
Oh, here's
but it wasn't because of, I think, skin color. It was because of what I was wearing. Like I was wearing a shirt, but some of the other staff people were wearing like a similar shirt. So it was just like, oh,
I got that at Walmart all the time because I'd walk in with a polo and I'd have my company badge hanging from my shirt. So they always would say, "Sir, can you do?" or ask me something. So totally get it.
Yeah.
It's just a place.
It was just a place yes, but it wasn't racial alone. But the white guy came and asked me for something. But to show you how triggered my mind was, I thought it was an automatic erase. I was like, no, I don't work at this store. I'm an attorney. And you could see in his face, like he was shocked, and then he was trying to say, oh no, I didn't mean anything by it. But it was interesting because I personally went into that space of this is a white male or a white person who's demeaning me by thinking I'm working at this store. When I look, and you look in the store, everybody working in the store happens to be white. I'm the only black, right? But I was I wasn't thinking about the situation. I was just looking at it as, like you're saying, this person has all these privileges.
You're primed.
I'm exactly. So I'm, and I actually felt bad when I said, I was like, oh no, I didn't mean it in that way. I just was, wondering, but I was like, now I see. I have the shirt on. This person has a shirt because they're selling the shirt. I understand, my mistake. But I think if we all start looking, instead of looking at overall themes, start looking at circumstances and situations and just evaluate. Like right now, we should evaluate this situation instead of evaluating the cultural impact of everyone in this situation. So just what happened here instead of what generally happens in society. Does that make sense?
So everybody forget the last 2 minutes of whatever I said. No, I'm just
Why? Why?
Because I was going into the cultural implications.
No. I'm saying you're right. I'm not saying. I'm saying.
I know.
What you're saying is the reality of the situation. What I'm saying is that's what I think that's what we have to overcome. But now,
by the way,
even with this story,
comment below, because I'm sure that you have stories that you could share with us. I would love to hear your stories of where you might have been mistaken when somebody asked you something or whatever. I mean, like I could be height offended. Everybody keeps asking me to pull things from a high shelf in the grocery store. But I'm kind of like, well, you know what? If I can help somebody, that's sort of cool. But tell us your story.
So with this story now, that was 4 months ago. So police have waited 4 months. Now, there's a couple of issues here. I don't know why they waited 4 months, because like this elevator footage and everything that we're about to see was already there, right? Because he's alive. So it had to be there when he was alive. And this seems to have finally, now, back in when this video that we just saw was in April, you have all the friends saying she was always the aggressor. So everybody's saying she was always the aggressor. Again, I like to put it back to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Everyone's saying the same thing with that, right? She was always their aggressor. She was always hitting him. It's literally the same exact script. And police didn't arrest or do anything for 4 months. Just imagine if that was me or you for 4 months, right? Now think about this, and I'll ask the people the question in the chat. If this was reversed, if it was her that was dead, and he was the one that had stabbed her, claiming self-defense, do you think it would have taken 4 months for them to charge him? No, right? But again, even the police department and the authorities seem to have to go. So now, check out this video. This is 4 months later, where police essentially charged this woman with the murder of her boyfriend. And this is the evidence that convinced them that this was...
Go ahead and repeat that. Sorry.
This is the evidence that's allegedly convinced them that she was the aggressor in this domestic violence relationship.
I've seen that over and over. And what is he supposed to do? You can see, and he's like just trying to shoulder it. He's obviously bigger, and it's like.
But hold on. Why are you telling people about the video? Let's watch the.
It's shocking video. A young woman fights with her boyfriend in the elevator of their Miami apartment building. She repeatedly hits him and throws punches. At one point, he pushes her away. The woman is 26-year-old Courtney Clenney, a popular Instagram model.
Okay, again, that's exactly what I was talking about. And by the way, let's look at some of the context in here. I could have said, oh my God, he was trying to strangle her, when he was obviously trying to restrain her. Did you see how he's kind of like, Jesus, trying to headlock? Now, and of course, his response did egg her on, because he was kind of laughing at her a little bit, like, what are you doing at different points? But I would argue that could be nervous laughter. But put yourself in his shoes, please. I'm serious. Put yourself in his shoes. She's just going at him, and then finally it's like, here's the responses. He's kind of avoiding. He tries to restrain. She keeps doing it. Finally, he's like, just get back. And then somebody could probably capture that and say he punched her. But what do you do? What do you do if they keep coming at you?
Clenney claims she acted in self-defense after her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli, attacked her. But now, a bombshell new development.
We are charging 26-year-old Courtney Taylor Clenney with 1 count of second-degree murder in Christian's death.
Prosecutor Catherine Fernandez-Rundle played the elevator video shot 2 months before Obumseli was killed at a news conference on the case. She says the couple had a violent and toxic 2-year relationship, with arguments so fierce the building management were planning to evict them.
The video, we felt, was just a very descriptive way to show what the relationship was and who was the aggressor.
The day Obumseli was killed, it was Clenney who called 911.
On that 911 call, Christian can be heard in the background repeatedly saying that he was dying. Clenney is also heard saying, "I'm so sorry, baby."
According to the prosecutor, Clenney said she actually threw the knife at her boyfriend from about 10 feet away. But forensic evidence allegedly shows otherwise.
Now, this, I think, is telling. Because remember earlier when we said that if it was reversed, if it was him versus her, he'd already be arrested and we'd probably be at trial now. But now the reverse. Look at the amount of evidence it took for them to say, because at first, remember, 4 months ago, we had the friends. We had everybody saying it was always her, it was always her, it was always, that wasn't enough. They had to get, look at this video. Wow. And then hear him on the phone, I'm dying. And she's just, I'm sorry. And she's saying all this stuff. And then she claims to be the victim. So if all this stuff, if you didn't have all this stuff come out, she would still be free and clear and be able to do anything. But the fact that we need this much evidence to show something that we could have concluded 4 months ago shows you how our society has so far to go. We're trying to overcome these inherent biases in the way we view these domestic violence relationships. Because again, this is why Johnny Depp had to go sue and prove he was innocent. He had to sue to prove he was innocent and did it and prove it was like that doesn't happen. That's extremely hard to do. And even with all that evidence, the mainstream media still says he's the person, right? Even with all that evidence. And you see, even with all this evidence in this case, it was hard for prosecutors to eventually say, okay, this person killed this person unlawfully.
Agree. And you had mentioned April. I don't know about Florida, but where the primaries coming up in May, would you dare charge a female immediately when there might be a primary coming up and you can get a black eye for picking on the poor victim? Well, there's a million things. And you are 100% correct. If there was no video, he'd be done.
Oh, yeah. No, she'd be living her life still on Instagram.
Yep. It's just like Rittenhouse. If there was no video, Rittenhouse would be in prison.
Oh, my God. Yes. Thank God for the video for Rittenhouse.
Clenney was arrested in Hawaii, where her lawyer says she was in rehab for substance abuse and post-traumatic stress disorder. Yesterday, she was wearing a black tank top and looked close to tears at a hearing to extradite her back to Miami.
Her lawyer's wearing a suit. Her lawyer appeared next to her wearing a suit. Why do we care that she's wearing a tank top? There's just something in that. And maybe I'm being overly sensitive, but this is the kind of thing that gives me a little pause and makes me understand why women are saying, why bring that up? Because I don't know the relevance of it. I do not understand why it matters she's wearing a black tank top. Because if she was in a group of 10 people and 4 of them were women, then I understand it. It's the black tank top to identify her from the others who might be wearing a green shirt and a red shirt. But why are we pointing it out? Because there's only 2 people in this shot, her and some dude. I'm not getting confused by this guy being her. Are you?
No, not at all. But again, I gotta say, I don't know. I don't know why bring that. Just maybe it was just some filler they put in. The script writer put in.
It could be. It could be.
Clenney will not fight extradition. Her lawyer says there is clear evidence of self-defense, claiming that Obumseli attacked her and choked her that evening, and that Clenney had no choice but to meet force with force. But the prosecutor says this explosive video proves she was the aggressor in the volatile relationship.
Courtney Clenney's defense attorney called that fighting video irrelevant because it doesn't show what happened the night of the stabbing and says it will likely be inadmissible at the trial.
The way it works in court when it comes to these issues is that if you've killed somebody and if your defense is they were the aggressor, then the prosecutor can then bring up evidence to show that you were the aggressor.
It's like a rebuttal.
Yes,
right?
You can rebut that. But if the defense does not bring up the fact that this person was the initial aggressor, then the prosecutor can't then bring up evidence that the person was the aggressor because it's not an issue. So her claim is self-defense. Her claim is that he was the initial aggressor.
If she uses the knife and he is dead, either it's self-defense or it's murder. So she's trapped. She's going to have to bring up rebuttable information. I just don't see how you can get out of that box, because you could argue, okay, we're not arguing it. So, okay, so she just stabbed him.
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
That doesn't help. Yeah. Why? Because we're why. That's true. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think we're wrong? Do you guys think we're right? Like why do you think it took these people 4 months to charge this guy? I'm a charge this guy. Look at me. I'm even crazy. Hey, listen, these are two beautiful women. Would I date them? To be honest with you, probably. If I wasn't married and had these two kids and would be worried about losing half of everything I got, possibly, because I love the crazy. But what about you? My name is Nate the Lawyer. This is Eric. For Nate and Eric, we're going to see you on the end.